Welcome in to episode 8 of season 2 of the Nerds Ruined Sports podcast. I am your host, Zac Tipton, and I am joined by my impeccable and smart and fantastic co-host, Anders Pryor. Unfortunately, though, he is a Jets fan. So maybe the smart decision is not actually the right word to use there.
Yeah, I was gonna say kind of rich,
but Anders, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I have a little bit of a breakout right here on my upper lip, so I'm not. So that's kind of the one sort of blemish that we're rolling with today. But Zach, this episode, and as you'll see over the course of what we're going to be talking about today, and what you guys might have been reading on social media today, this episode is not about me. This episode is all about Zach and what makes Zach happy and how much Zach has won. This almost would have this was kind of like teetering on like emergency pod territory because of how just fundamentally shifting this is for Zach. This episode that we're doing right now and the real core of it, once we get past our fantasy football stuff, is 2 years in the making. And so for one of these banners, I'm just going to let Zach roll for as long as he wants. But I am doing good, and it's great to see you.
Yeah, I'm excited. Before we get going in here today, we're going to play a little fun game here that me and Anders like to do. It is our daily trivia game. Not Wordle, but sort of something similar to that, where we get a team, and we have to guess the team and then figure out each player. This one today is based on jersey number. And so we have to know players by their jersey number. And here we go. 3, 2, 1, and we are sharing it now.
All right.
So Anders, here's our go for today. We got 10 as the QB1, 23 as the RB1, 88 as the wide receiver one. My first immediate thought is the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think so.
Rush at QB here.
Yeah, so let's so this is actually really good now. So we can do and by the way, you sometimes these are by numbers and sometimes these are by college.
Sometimes these are by colleges, sometimes these are by jersey numbers, sometimes these are by draft pick. I've seen a draft pick one that's really hard. But this one here is gonna be Cooper Rush.
It's gonna be Cooper Rush, and then that's obviously Rico Dowdle.
Rico Dowdle. I thought he was 23, to be honest. I thought he was a single-digit number. And we got CD over here, obviously. And then we got Anders's Rock, Jake Ferguson.
No. Ferguson's out. That's Scootmaker.
Oh, my Lord. I got saved.
There you go.
And then is 1 Turpin or is 9 Turpin?
9 is Turpin. 1
is who?
Tolbert. Tol.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Tolbert. Yeah, I got it.
And
now you should know the line pretty well, I feel like.
Yep. So 60 is Tyler Guyton.
Okay.
I can't get 66 is Tyler Smith.
Oh God, there's 2. We'll come back to Tyler Smith here.
Yeah. Cooper Beebe is at center.
Cooper. Oh, that's wrong. They keep putting up.
There you go. And then 70s, obviously Zach Martin.
Yep. Hasn't changed in years.
And then 78 is Terrence Steele.
Steele, you said?
Yes, Steele. Yep.
Oh, there we go. Terrence Steele.
And then Tyler Smith.
There's 2 Tyler Smith, so we're going to have to take a guess here.
Yep.
I hope I get it right. We got it wrong. It was TJ Bass, actually.
Oh, TJ Bass. Oh, excuse me. Okay.
Disappointing there, but we got 10 and 11, still solid. Yeah. And we will stop sharing that. And now we move on to our favorite segment of the week, always. I don't know if it's Andrew's favorite segment anymore, but the fantasy football, how you doing? And the answer, if you're Anders, is not great.
Not great. No.
So let me get to it. I need to figure out exactly where it is. Okay. Wait 1 second. Can I get it fixed? Can I get it figured out? I
I
can.
don't know. You were just sharing your screens. Do the same thing.
I know, but it's a little tougher there. But we got it. Okay. Here's the Week 11 box score for Anders' game versus our friend Joe Dib.
Yep.
As you can see, Anders only made it to 115 points this week.
Mm-hmm.
And that was single-handedly because of great gains from the Rams and Jamison Williams here with a 22-point game himself. Yep. Anders, you got a bunch of buys this week, which is going to happen.
Right.
But your RBs here are the real question mark here, Anders.
Yep.
Your thoughts on the RB situation, and then what's your plan going forward here to, really just kind of come back?
Yeah. So thankfully, finally, Jonathan Brooks, who I essentially kind of drafted my team around, is finally scheduled to make his season debut against the Chiefs. And so he will and so I wasn't 100% sure because he is still technically listed as questionable. And obviously there's no one in the flex, like all the flex people that I have right now. Like I don't want to put in Brooks over any of them. But so Ford went in there for me, which obviously I regretted. I wanted to just, since it was questionable, I didn't want to take any risks there. But next week for the rest of the season, trying in the sort of effort to make the playoff, like I do expect him to be an every week starter for me. So he will hopefully be a contributor down in this kind of home back nine of the season. And Zach was kind of saying to me earlier, like before we started recording, that my wide receivers, I forget what the word you used. Was it stacked? Was that the word?
Yeah, it was stacked.
Stacked with Neighbors, Harrison, Kupp, and Williams. So I'm basically,
and you got Auden, who's basically turned into a wide receiver one.
Right, exactly. He's been a really pleasant kind of pick for me. So I'm basically the home stretch kind of playing going forward is essentially just relying on Harrison, Neighbors, Kupp, and Williams. If I can get like 2 of the 4 of them to have big like home run, like 18 plus point games for me every week, which I Bleav I did last week with because I had some buys.
Yeah, you had Williams and Kupp, I Bleav, had both.
Go for 20 plus. For Williams, it's a lot of like those big play things, and then for Kupp, it's the kind of volume share and the red zone targets. And then obviously for Harrison, obviously an excellent route runner, and for Neighbors, again, just a bunch of volume.
Yeah.
So I as long as Jonathan Taylor can give me like just competent double digits in points every week, I feel pretty solid about my chances to make the playoffs. But obviously like last week was my bye week, like my big world, it was a lot of buys there. And so I swallowed the pill. I swallowed the pill on that. But I am, a lot of those names are back. And so that combined with just, hopefully Brooks being able to contribute in this back kind of third of the season, I feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah, no. Last week I Bleav last week was my bye week 2 in this league, so I'll go to my team now. I Bleav last week was my bye week 2. I still was able to pull out the win here against Dimitri. Dimitri did taunt me a few times out this game, so I'm glad he was able to eat his words. As you can see, my entire bench had 0 points. Like I had no one playing on my bench. So this was throw anyone I could throw out there week for me. Including like Mike Gesicki and Audric Estime, both started games for me this week. Tyler Lockett had to start a game for me this week. So in the future, I hopefully will not have to do that. obviously having Justin Jefferson and Brian Thomas have been great for me, and I obviously I think I'll get Thielen and Coleman back here soon. I'm just keeping Mason Tipton will be on my team throughout the end of the season. I do not care how it goes. Mason Tipton will be just a bench player on my team throughout the end of the season. But I was able to get big weeks from Allen. The 31 points from Bowers really saved my week this week. And then obviously solid gains from Jefferson and Thomas were not great. And then obviously when you have a defensive kicker combined for 24, you really can't be upset about it.
Right.
So I'll take that. Thank you, Cameron Dicker. Appreciate you. And then we'll go back to my team here. So this is my team's look this week. I am starting Drake May at QB this week versus Miami. I had a few options at QB, and honestly, I just didn't like any of them. I kind of was like, you know what? We'll still Drake May out there. Hopefully he can do what he can do. And then we're running Jahmyr Gibbs, James Conner, Jefferson. Thielen is starting for me this week with, again, as you can see, I have another big bye week for me here. Brian Thomas, Allen, and Coleman all on bye. Hopefully Coleman can get healthy by the time we get to the season. But I got a lot of guys here still, and then I'm going to have to go double tight end this week here with Bowers and McBride, which, to be honest, I'd be on to do that every week. I like the double tight end here with these guys I got here. I mean, I would say they're probably, I don't know if it's true. I think they're close to wide receiver 1 and 2. I believe Bowers is wide receiver 1. I don't know where McBride exactly ranks, but he's close to wide receiver 2 as well. Tight end 2 as well.
Yeah.
And then, I'm starting Lockett and Thielen this week, so I'm going to hope that Thielen plays this week because if he doesn't, I might have to make a pickup late, but I'm hoping I won't have to do that. Anyway, that is my team there. Moving on to the last league that we always look at, which is my auction league, because it's kind of the league that started this whole thing off. As you can see, I did not win last week. I overdid my predictions by a lot, though. And that was thanks to a big game from Saquon, a big game from James Cook. Brian Thomas and DJ Moore both had solid games. Roma Dunze had a good game. And I did have a couple good running backs on my bench. But the hard part for me was Hawkinson and Pitts. I had to start both tight ends this week because I had a bunch of buys, including Marvin Harrison, so that hurt me a lot. Mm-hmm. I won't usually be starting Pitts on my roster. And it doesn't help that I had to play JSN and T. Higgins here as well. That doesn't help either. And David Njoku dropped a 21-point game as well. So it just didn't work out too well for me this week. And I dropped to 5 and 6 in this league. If we want to look quickly at this league, I am now in 8th place, which means I don't exactly know where I fit on the playoff rankings. I figured where to check that. I can check it here. I am currently on the outside looking in here. I have to be in the top 6 to make the playoffs. So if I want to win, I have to win probably my next 2 games to get in, which starts this week, where I will be facing 6 and 5 Brees Lightning. And this is kind of rough week for me because I do have both James Cook and Brian Thomas on my bye week. So I am running on fumes this week. Wan'Dale Robinson's going to be starting for me. Madison was starting for me, but he's projected to get 0. Is he out? So that means I will be starting Cam Akers as my wide receiver 2, which is not exactly what you want when you need to win. Is there anyone I can pick up here? Anders, any of these guys you like a little bit here, or any of these guys?
Barely see. I mean, like, I don't hate the idea of Gus Edwards, just because of the offense he's attached to, and I forget what they're like. I forget what him and Dobbins' goal line splits are, but just because based on the effectiveness of the offense that they're attached to, I think, and also the Chargers this week, they face the Ravens, who I think who have a bad pass defense, but I do think that they'll be able to take advantage of that and just get into the red zone. So as long as Gus can get some degree of red zone carries, I think he's an interesting touchdown candidate. Maybe not from a yard standpoint, because that is the Ravens' defensive specialty, But I think from a goal line standpoint, he could be a sneaky touchdown candidate for this week.
Interesting. Okay. And I like Cam Akers a lot too. I just think he's always a good touchdown possible skill scorer in a red zone recently. He did score a touchdown a couple weeks ago. So I gotta hope he scores one, I think, this week at this point. Yeah, he scored a touchdown last week. He did get in the end zone last week there. So on the receiving end. So I'm hoping Cam Akers can repeat that. Maybe another touchdown. That'd be huge. But this is a must-win week for me, and I'm facing a team that is very solid. But with that being said, we will stop sharing here and we will get into the meat of our show. The most important segment of my life here. And the segment I've been waiting for years. Daniel Jones is gone. He is gone. He is out. As you guys know, he was officially released today by the Giants. I mean, we are looking at like one of the biggest downfalls we've ever seen here. As I like to say, Ed Donatell single-handedly ended a franchise. And that was Ed Donatell single-handedly ended a franchise, and it was not the Vikings. And so for those of you who don't know why I say that, Ed Donatell was the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings in the 2022 season, I want to say, which was Kevin O'Connell's first year as coach. And they had the worst defense in the league. It was literally ranked 32nd defense in the league. We were allowing like almost 400 yards a game at the end of the season. It was disastrous. And a main part of that was because we weren't blitzing. And so because of that, we faced Daniel Jones twice that season. Both times he threw for over 400 yards and had a lot of touchdowns against our defense. He also threw for 400 yards against the Lions, who also had the 31st ranked defense. So that would be 3 games where he had over 400 yards against the 31st and 32nd ranked defense. Other than that, he didn't really have any great games or any good games to begin with. But because of those 3 games, one of those being in the playoffs, which gave the Giants a win, and Daniel Jones' first playoff victory, he was given a $40 million a year contract. And a lot of people were calling him top 12. Some were even saying he was near top 10 QB after that season. To which I basically said, you all are idiots. And I hope you don't believe that ever again. Ed Donatell was the reason that Daniel Jones was good last year. And if you don't believe me, watch what happens next when he doesn't have Ed Donatell games to back his stat rankings. And what happened? He got a $40 million contract and immediately became the worst QB in the NFL. And it's not even close. I think he's the worst QB in the NFL worst starting QB in the NFL by a mile. And it all culminated into what was one of the worst seasons in Giants history. Malik Nabers is playing well, but not at the level you'd hope he'd play at if he got a better QB. Like if he got a better QB, Malik Nabers would be being like rookie of the year for sure. But because of that, Daniel Jones was benched this week, earlier this week, and I was very excited about it. And then he was on the scout team as safety, and then he was released. He asked for a release today and was granted his release, and he was cut from the Giants. All that being said, Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback. And anyone that believed that one season of just Ed Donatell defenses made him a good QB was wrong. And I have hated Daniel Jones ever since then because there were a lot of people saying he was better than guys like Kirk Cousins, better than guys like Geno Smith, better than guys like there are a lot of QBs that were being named that Daniel Jones was better than that were simply just not. And so from that point on, I've made it my life's goal to hate Daniel Jones. And I have succeeded. And so this whole week has been An absolute blessing for me. I've loved every second of it. Obviously, I will admit, like, you don't love to see guys get cut. You don't love to see guys get benched. It's not a part of the game you love to see. But in this case, I loved seeing it. I also think he was severely hurting the Giants franchise, in a point to where the Giants fans were in a lot of suffering. Anders Pryor is not a Giants fan, but he has a bunch of Giants fans friends, and we know how much they have suffered over the past couple of years. Anders, I just want to get your thoughts on the entire ending of Daniel Jones' career here in New York, and just your thoughts on the news today.
So you are correct. He's not good. I think like the worst like starting quarterback in the NFL. I think he is one of the people that I would say like is in that, like he's in that discussion. I would say like just to rattle off a couple of names, like I would say that like I would personally rather have like Mac Jones than him. I would probably rather have like Desmond Ridder than him. I don't know. No, I'd probably have Daniel Jones over Aiden O'Connell. I would have Sam Howell over Daniel Jones for sure.
Okay.
I'd have Drew Lock over Daniel Jones. It's Tyrod Taylor, like everyone. So I would say that, it was the ending was really dramatic. Like I thought the scout team safety thing was a little obnoxious. I personally thought that they should have just made him the third string. I thought making him the fourth string was kind of classless. I think, like if you were going to put him as a scout team safety, you should have just released him. And so the Giants' handling of it, even though they made the right decision, I thought the ending of it was just really sort of bizarre. And I don't blame him for asking to be released. And I think, obviously, with all the injury stuff, like you can kind of read behind a little bit that one of the big motivations for this, I think there's two real motivations for it. One is, I think we all know that Dable is kind of coaching for his job here. That's kind of the first bit. And so he's clearly not winning games with Jones with this iteration of the Giants. So he needs to find a way to do it with DeVito or Locke. I would have personally gone with Locke over DeVito. But, I think that's the first thing. And I think it's the bigger one. But there's also the clause, and we've talked about this before, I believe, on the show, which is that, like if he gets injured, I forget how much money it is, but a certain amount of his money becomes guaranteed. And so they're releasing themselves of that. But yeah, so I thought it was the right decision. I hope that Jones, finds a home next year. I think that he should go to a team. I don't think a team. I think he's done too bad of a job and doesn't have enough good traits to where he can. I don't think he should try to go somewhere on the basis of so that he can try to compete for some playing time. I just think like at that point, like I would just go to somewhere like really like secure. Like I could totally envision him being like the backup to like, like on the Colts, or, the Raiders are probably going to want a backup next year behind one of their rookies. The Titans might want the same thing if they decide to move off of Rudolph. But he will not be a star. I think, just because of injuries or something, Daniel Jones will start a football game for someone next year, but he will not be a week 1 starter.
No, I agree.
That is for sure.
And so then where do you think Daniel Jones lands? I've seen Dallas as a possibility for him this year with their QB situation. Where do you think Daniel Jones does land? Do you see an opportunity? Where do you see the opportunity possible?
So I think I said the name of them. I think so. I'm going to give a team. I'm going to give one team, then one just kind of general thing. So the first place that I would go, I think the Colts would be good because I think Jones, to me, I think the running ability is his best trait, and I think that you can do a lot. You can kind of keep some similarities in the playbook with Richardson and Jones in terms of the designed run stuff, in terms of option stuff, in terms of just like maintenance of like turnovers and things like that, because they're both very turnover prone anyway. So you might as well just get someone who kind of matches it 1-to-1. I think that's a much more kind of legit, like logical option at backup than like Joe Flacco. Like that never really made sense to me outside of the whole like mentorship component. So I think that would be a great destination. And I think Shane Steichen's a great coach too. And then the other place, assuming it's not the Giants, obviously, but whoever drafts Cam Ward, Jones should be the backup because again, Ward has some, I think, really good mobility, kind of attributes. And I think Jones is again, like a logical backup for that. Whether that's the Raiders or the Titans or, curious to see what the Browns do or the Panthers do, the Saints maybe. There's a couple options. There are a couple options. So option 1 would be the Colts backing up Richardson. And then the other option, I think second would be whoever gets Cam Ward. But I mean, for Dallas, I don't really see any reason for them to not keep the exact same quarterback room that they have right now. Unless you were 100% confident that you could trade Trey Lance and that you could sign Jones for cheaper than what Lance is making right now, which I forget. I think it's something in the vicinity of like $9 million. So we'll see, but those would be my responses. What do you have in mind?
I mean, I was looking at Dallas as a possible option for them, especially like the injuries to Dak Prescott this year. If they wanted to bring in him for like a backup or like a role to just have him on the team right away this year to kind of just to have a QB, and not throw a Cooper Rush every day. I saw that as an option. I don't really know. I think that was kind of my only thought right there. I have heard the Vikings. I hope to the Lord that does not happen. As a backup to JJ McCarthy next year, I really hope not. Yes. And then very simply, Anders, next question here, finishing off.
Yep.
Where do the Giants go from here? Who should they draft?
I mean, I'm on the record of saying, I mean, this goes against kind of like what I just said. I'm on the record of saying that I think Cam Ward is the best quarterback in this draft. So that would be my pick. I mean, and I personally like Milroe more as a prospect than Shador.
Okay.
So that I think Cam or Milroe would be the two that I would.
Hey, we're saving Shador for the Cowboys, okay? We're saving Shador for the Cowboys.
Yeah. Okay. So no, those will be my picks. I mean, in terms of like options out there, I mean, I've heard Sam Darnold a couple of times, which I think would be interesting.
Bring him back to New York.
Exactly.
What's the other GM?
That would be one. I mean, yeah. So Ward, Milroe, Darnold, those would be my picks. Yeah,
Sounds
those are
good.
my picks. Yep.
Well, with that coming to the end of the Daniel Jones era on the Nerds Ruin Sports podcast, with us really not probably having a lot more Daniel Jones segments from here on out, I wanted to share this amazing tribute video I found to honor our great Daniel Jones, our hero here. Thank you, Barstool Sports, for this amazing tribute video.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, good things we've been through. That I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything.
Oh, so touching.
You're
really gonna miss. Really gonna miss. Really gonna miss.
You're a bad person. I was sitting there the whole time waiting for the run and stumble. I was sitting waiting there the whole time waiting for that. Oh my God! Wow, that's really special.
That was special, right? Shout out. I wanted to make sure he shared that because I wanted to make sure we gave Daniel Jones the proper send off that he deserves. Now we move on to a fantastic college football segment here. As we approach, in my opinion, one of my favorite college football slates of the year. That's coming up here in week 13. Outside of the SEC cake games, I am very excited to, I'm really excited for this week. I think there's a ton of games out there, Anders, that we're gonna talk about a few of them here. Yeah. I think there's a ton of games out here. A couple of games we are not talking about quick on this show, but I'm really excited about. Include Kansas, Colorado is. And Colorado's on offset watch there. I really do feel like Kansas has the ability to come in and take over and possibly beat Colorado there.
Right.
And then another one is Minnesota, Penn State. I think Minnesota beat Penn State a couple of years ago in Minnesota. And I really do think Minnesota's playing at a really high level right now that they have a chance to really put Penn State on upset alert here.
Right.
As well. So those are a couple of games I'm really excited about. Andrews, outside of the few we're talking about here later, are there any games that you're excited about here coming up?
No, I think the two that you highlighted are kind of the ones that just missed the cut for us. I agree that Colorado is on upset watch. I know that the Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator for Kansas last year, is now the offensive coordinator at Penn State. So Kansas is not really, like last year, it was totally unsurprising whenever, like Kansas last year would regularly put up like 35 plus. That hasn't really been them this year, but they've been able to find some situational wins. They came out. I think they started 1-3. They've cleaned it up a lot since. So
they beat a couple big opponents. They just beat BYU last week, which was a huge win for them.
That's a premier win, and we'll talk about BYU in a second here. But I do agree that this was a bad time to get Kansas on the schedule if you're Colorado. So I think to me, I think you and I picked the right top three. This would be 4 for me, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, so now we're going to top 3 games to watch. Yep. Our first one is by far, in our opinion, the best game of the weekend. And if you're sitting there saying, oh, yeah, here comes Indiana Penn State. Nope. It's Arizona State versus BYU. And I am telling you this right now. Yes, I have maybe sounded like an Arizona State homer in the past, but I am telling you this right now. This game is going to be special.
It is.
This at Mountain America Stadium, Arizona State with the chance to possibly go to the Big 12 championship game here. And heck, a chance to go to the CFP here.
Right.
If they win this game. I mean, we're talking about an Arizona State team that was 3-9 last year. We're talking about an ASU team that was suspended from bowl eligibility, suspended from playing in postseason competition last year because of so many different recruiting violations by the previous staff. I mean, we are talking about a team that was in shambles.
Yep.
And now in 1 year, Kenny Dillingham, who is probably going to win Coach of the Year, has turned that 3-9 team into a team that is 10-2, I want to say, or 9-2 with a chance to
9-2 sounds right.
9-2 with the chance to beat, if they beat BYU here, a chance to go to the Big 12 championship game and possibly the CFP playoff. I mean, it's incredible. And BYU, obviously, they're coming off a really bad loss versus Kansas, but they were undefeated up to that point. I mean, they were a top 10 team last week. So you got two teams that are now, miss 8. I think, what is BYU, 17 or 18?
They're 14. They're 14.
They're 14, and then
BYU, the big three or I guess the big four, technically, if you want to look at it that way, in the Big 12 is that we have. Let me just confirm that I'm getting this right here. We have BYU at 14, Colorado at 16, Arizona State at 21, and Iowa State at 22. I think it's really just the big three. I'm not really convinced.
Yeah, there's really only 3 teams that really have a chance at it, so that's why I think they only keep it there. But this game, I am excited for it. I'm really upset. I thought me and my friends were going to be doing a poker night tomorrow night, and so I did not go to this game. I did not buy tickets to this game because I wanted to enjoy poker night with my friends, but now they're doing poker night on Friday night, and now the tickets are like 2 times what they were a week ago. So I can't go to this game, but I'm really upset. I would love to go to this game right now and be at this game. But this is going to be special.
Yes.
I'm excited for this. Now we'll get into that other game.
Well, let me.
You say your thing.
Just in terms of things that are at stake here. So in my opinion, because when we looked at the schedule at the beginning of the year, like this would not have been viewed as like a quality opponent. And so this is a really interesting opportunity and a very kind of because even, when BYU was like 5-0, 6-0, and we started to get like a feeling about who they really were, like Arizona State, we didn't view in this regard yet. So this is a really unique and special opportunity for BYU to pick up a quality win that they didn't realize that they would have the chance to get a month ago. And so in my mind, BYU, if they roll Arizona State, then they can put the Big 12 on like a chokehold, basically. And if they beat Arizona State by like double digits, which like will be very difficult, but if they can do that, the conference, I think, after a week break from losing to Kansas, becomes theirs to lose again, regardless of what happens with Colorado.
But yeah, I think the key here is Arizona State has a chance to go undefeated at home for the first time since I forget what it was. I saw the stat. I forget what it is now, but I mean Arizona State has a chance to be undefeated at home for the first time since I want to say the 1900 something. I'm not sure exactly what year it was, but it's nuts how Arizona State's playing on a level we've never seen them play at before, and I'm really excited for this team. And so with that being said, this is my game to watch, and I will be up watching this game on my TV, even when I could be at the game. I'm going to be up on my TV because I'm not spending $300 for a ticket. But that is that. Moving on to the 1B game of this slate, I would say it's the 1B, maybe even just say 2. But yet you got Indiana, Ohio State. You got an Ohio State team that is on a roll. Their only loss is versus number 1 Oregon by like 1. I think it was 1. In a dogfight there to that. And then you have an Indiana team that is undefeated in unfamiliar territory. I mean, just a Cinderella season for the Hoosiers. 10-0, but a lot of people questioning their validity. There are a lot of people questioning whether Indiana is a legit team, or whether they're just kind of had an easy schedule. And so this is Indiana's chance to show that they can, or that they are the team to beat, that they are a favorite in the Big Ten. They win this game, they are guaranteed to be a top 5, like the number 5 team I would say the number 5 team in the number 5 seed, right, in the college football playoffs. I think Oregon's going to be the number 1, so they'll be the 5.
Yep. And
then if Ohio State wins, they'll be guaranteed to be the number 5 seed, I guess, technically is how you would go with it.
Yep.
And Indiana then all of a sudden would face a question on whether or not they are in or out. And that's a crazy question to ask, but there is a debate on if Indiana loses this game to Ohio State, will they drop all the way out of the playoff? And that's like if Ohio State blows them out. Like if Ohio State blows them out, will Indiana drop all the way out of the playoff? There is a question on that. And so, Anders, your thoughts on this game?
So to me, the Indiana wins to me have been such beatdowns that even if they do lose, unless it's like a 30-something point loss, like, you know, if this is like a 45-17, like that kind of thing. If it's not that, I really think Indiana has done enough in terms of like just win margin and point differential to justify having a spot, especially if this is, you know, like a 1-point game worth a field goal game or whatever it is. Now, obviously, if they win, then the 5 is locked up. Oh, I see Zach smiling.
I saw Daniel Jones tweet that. I know we were already past Daniel Jones tweet. I saw it. It says, Daniel Jones now leads the NFL in interceptions for safeties. It's 7 interceptions.
Oh,
sorry. Okay, continue. Continue. Sorry, I saw that you laughed really hard.
So obnoxious. I would say I'm it would need to be an awful loss because the thing is that and it's kind of interesting too, because if Indiana loses, they're probably not going to go to the Big Ten championship. So it's weird because if Ohio State loses to Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, then they go to 2 losses. So it's the math is a little weird, but I feel pretty, unless it's like, again, like 45 to like 17, I think Indiana's fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they should be in, but there are a lot of questions right now with their strength of schedule. But I agree, they've beaten down every team they faced. That's even if they're like solid teams. Like Nebraska was a solid team for a while there, and they beat them by 35 or 40. It was like they're destroying teams. And so yeah, I agree. Yes, this game is going to be fun. This game is going to be great. I'm still upset that game day is going there instead of Tempe, but I'm so upset that game day is going to Ohio State instead of Tempe. But we're hyped for it, and we're excited for this game as well. And then finally, one of the more kind of spicy matchups here, Anders.
Yep.
Notre Dame versus Army. A matchup that if you told me this was a college football playoff deciding game in week 12 of the season, I would probably laugh in your face and said you're insane. But here we are. I mean, Notre Dame has come back. They still have that disgusting loss to NIU on their record.
Right.
And a loss to Army would pretty much guarantee they don't get a playoff spot. A loss to Army would pretty much guarantee they don't even get like anywhere near the top 12. And Army, on the other hand, a loss to Notre Dame here ends their playoff chance completely because Boise State would probably be able to walk in with a win.
Right.
So Army would probably end their playoff loss completely here if they lose this game. And so it comes down to it's another playoff decider here, Anders. Your thoughts on this? I know you're really excited about this matchup. So what are your thoughts?
To me, this has more of needle moving potential than the Indiana and Ohio State game because for Notre Dame, like we talk about 2 lost teams being on the fringe all the time. Like if you're going to be a 2-loss team in the bracket, those better be some damn good losses. Or you better have like amazing wins on your schedule in the way that like Bama does with the Georgia win and the LSU win and stuff like that. Like, you know, in Alabama, like they're probably going to be in the playoff, but the thing is that they needed those wins to overcome Vanderbilt. So for Notre Dame, if you have 2 losses, one of those losses is to NIU, you can't be a playoff team. Like, I don't think Georgia should make it personally. I don't think Georgia should be in the playoff because them, Ole Miss, and Bama all have 2 losses, and Georgia lost to both. So I think they should be done. But at the bare minimum, you could sway me with, oh, look at who their losses were to. Versus for Notre Dame, like once they lost that game to NIU, they immediately to me entered win out mode immediately. So now they can't. Army's good, but they're not good enough to justify adding a second loss and still having a good enough resume to make it to the bracket. So you talked about the Indiana game, like should they slide out? I think if Notre Dame loses this, they should slide way out of the picture entirely. That's what I think.
I like it. I like the play. Absolutely agree. One other game I do want to mention, just because I'm a Nebraska fan, Nebraska-Wisconsin is kind of like a non-playoff but spicy matchup this week. Both teams are 5-5.
Yep.
And winner gets a bowl game, basically, and the other one has to wait another week to try to get another bowl game. And so I'm excited about that one as well. I'll be watching that one. Hopefully, Nebraska pulls it out for me. Will I be going to the bar tomorrow? Maybe. We'll see.
Yep.
No, for the most part, though, it's gonna be a pretty special. It's gonna be a pretty special night for sure. And there we go. Okay, so that's that, and then now we go to the NFL.
Yep.
First, I want to go with the Thursday night game last night, Anders.
Yep.
Jameis Winston. Your thoughts on this, like, Linsanity run that Jameis Winston's putting together over in Cleveland?
Yeah.
I mean, he just had another incredible win last night. Jameis has really been that guy for the Browns so far. He's looking like kind of like prime Jameis, honestly.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Jameis Winston and the Browns win yesterday?
So it was great. I thought he made some really nice, good throws that would be mildly impressive in good weather, but like being able to read through flood concepts in the snow, and doing like layer, like, or like flood stuff in the snow is hard because to execute that well, you need your depth perception at full force. And that's really hard to do when your kind of scale of stuff is distorted because everything's kind of opaqued a little bit. So I think that was really impressive. And I mean, look, I'm going to make the case. Zach, can I, before we do our, like the set that we want to do with games in this schedule in the late slot, can I make the case for Jameis Winston to be the full year starter for the Browns next year?
Yeah, go ahead, make your case.
So my case is this. Deshaun Watson cannot be cut because of the dead cap stuff.
Yes.
And to me, even if you cut him, you can't really draft a quarter. It doesn't make sense for them to draft a quarterback because they can't really take advantage of the stuff that they need to do from a cap perspective in terms of getting a cheap person in the building and then scattering it around with talent, kind of like what the Bears are doing right now or what the Texans have been doing and stuff like that. So, I would say like Deshaun, do whatever you want with him and then just and to me, there are some good quarterbacks this year. None of them to me are good enough to justify starting that process with. So to me, I would just basically just start Jameis all of next year, keep Deshaun, right? Just live with him there so to avoid the dead cap stuff. Spend your top 7 pick on a position of need, and then spend your first round pick on a quarterback in 2026 when the class is a lot better. That's what I would do. That would be because if you still want to win, because right now I think all of us are kind of assuming that Kevin Stefanski is safe this year. I think if he has another season like this next year, then he does kind of get hot, and that is a real conversation that we should have. But I think with Jameis, you can win enough games to where he can keep his job. So
no, I agree.
I think rolling with Jameis, not cutting Deshaun, and then drafting a better quarterback in 2026, where you can be more flexible with actually putting the pieces around them like you would want to do with a rookie. I think that's just a much better plan. So that would be my case for what they should do next year.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. Okay, I agree. And now we'll move on to our segment here.
Yep.
Where we're going to talk about 4 games that we found really, we have questions obviously, but four games here that we're really excited about here for week 12 of the NFL season. Starting off with the 49ers playing the Packers here on I think it's NFL Game of the Week on Fox. Or is that NFL Game of the Week on CBS? I forget which one it is. Do you remember?
Fox.
It's Fox, yeah. 49ers and then, but breaking news as of this, Brock Purdy is officially out for this game versus the Packers.
Okay.
That was just announced 20 minutes ago. So I was gonna wait till we got to the segment to bring it up. So Brock Purdy is officially out for this game versus the Packers. Anders, are the 49ers in panic mode with a loss? Or with this loss of Brock Purdy, are they already in panic mode?
Well, I mean, so who would be starting for them? Is it because I know they have – let me just make sure that I know what I'm talking about here because I want to say, Brandon Allen or Joshua Dobbs. I would assume they'd probably go with Dobbs. I
think Dobbs would probably be the obvious start there, yeah.
Yeah. So, no, they're not because – so it's weird, right? Because because I'm not a Purdy skeptic. I do think that he is. I still do think there's this kind of weird protectionism with Purdy where when they win, he gets all the credit, but when they lose, it's he gets none of the blame. And like where Shanahan is sort of all of it, but then when they lose, it's like, oh, like why didn't Shanahan do this? Like he and leads and like fourth quarter, etc. It's hard. So I would say I would tell you what, regardless of the fact that they're starting, I would say that it is panic mode, because here's the thing, right? The Lions are going to win that division. I would assume, right?
Yeah.
Which means that the Packers' path to the playoff is through the wild card. And if you get this tiebreaker against you, then that means you have to win more games than the Packers. And that's not, I don't think that's feasible.
I mean, I think it's hard to say that the Niners even have a shot at this point if they lose.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's hard to say because, like, if you look at their schedule, I mean, they have the Bills, the Rams, the Lions, and the Cardinals in 4 of the next 6 games.
Right.
I would say without Purdy, and I would say even with Purdy, 3 of those games aren't really that winnable right now for the team I'm looking at right now in the San Francisco 49ers.
Right.
The only game I maybe give them a chance if they have Purdy is the Rams.
Right.
I think the Bills, Lions, and right now I think Cardinals in Arizona on week 18 for a possibility of the division. I would say Cardinals are probably, if the Cardinals haven't won the division by then, they're going to be going all out. I don't think they win that game.
Yeah.
And the Rams is the only other game I see them winning. And then all of a sudden you're looking and it's like, okay, if they beat the Rams, they'll beat the Bears, the Niners, and the Dolphins. What if they don't? What if they lose one of those games all of a sudden, right?
Because they still have, because the Cardinals already have the tiebreaker from the first game, and then they still have to face them one more time.
Yeah.
The Niners schedule for the rest of the year, it's brutal. Green Bay, Buffalo, Chicago, Rams, Dolphins, Lions, Cardinals again.
I would say only 1 or 2 of those are winnable for really winnable, truly winnable. They should be favored and should win those games.
Like the Bears
and the Dolphins, I'd say are the 2.
Yeah, Bears, I would even put them as slight favorites. The Dolphins, I'd call a toss-up, honestly.
It depends on what Tua is looking like when we get that late in the season.
Right.
But yeah, fair.
Well, I think they're averaging 28 points a game since he's come back. So it's yeah. Yeah, no, I it's hard to call their season done. If they lose, I'd put their playoff chances at probably 5%.
Yeah, no, I would.
That's my kind of loose estimation, I would say.
I mean, the thing is they're looking at the end here, so it's just they need to.
Right.
But then we go to another NFC West game, which is the Seahawks playing the Cardinals this week. Who needs the win more, Seahawks or Cardinals?
I would say the Seahawks, just because they have the worst record. That would be that's what I would say. Yeah, the just based off having the worst record. Because if you go to the Cardinals schedule,
they have a pretty light schedule coming up.
They have a pretty light schedule coming up because the thing, it's hard to say because they play each other twice still.
Yeah,
and so if it would kind of
if they do sweep, it does really cancel out. If they do split, it does really cancel it out. So it's hard to say
right.
Either team needs a win more.
For this week specifically and this game specifically, I'll lean Seahawks need it more just because today they have the worst record.
I'm gonna go opposite of you. I'm gonna say the Cardinals need to win more here. A win here builds their lead, in my opinion, to multiple games, right? Because if the Seahawks lose, we're assuming the Niners are going to lose this week as well to the Packers without Brock Purdy. And then the Rams don't have an easy game either. The Rams have a pretty hard game against the Eagles on Sunday night. So there is a chance all three other NFC West teams lose if the Cardinals win.
Right.
So if the Cardinals win and you get that game to 7, and you get that to 7-4, and everyone else in your division is 5-6, and you have the tiebreaker then on the Seahawks and the Niners.
Right.
And I don't know if they played the Rams yet, or when the last time they played the Rams are. I don't know if they beat the Rams, but they played the Rams and they beat the Rams big the last time they faced them also. So they would have won all three of their games. You're looking at a team that is pretty much, unless they completely fall out of nowhere, you're looking at a team that's pretty much securing an NFC West division title with a win in this game. And I know there's all a season left, but it really would feel like that. So I'm going to say the Cardinals there, just because of that. But that's why I'm going to say that.
Yep.
Very simply put, we're going to another game, which is we're going to stick with the NFC West. Eagles, Rams. But this question on the Eagles. Are the Eagles Super Bowl contenders with a win? I watched Nick Wright today on First Things First that said his pick to win the NFC would be the winner of this game. Eagles, Rams. I disagree with that. I don't think the Rams are my pick to win the NFC at all. But I would say, would you say the Eagles are Super Bowl contenders with a win here? Would you say they're even like, what are your thoughts?
So the answer should be yes.
Yes.
The answer should be yes. I have hesitation. 10% of that hesitation is rooted in just Sirianni. Like, it's really difficult for me to refer to the Eagles as a pure contender under Sirianni, and with Sirianni without Steichen and Gannon. So that's 10% of it. That's a very small. It might even be 5%. 90 to 95% of it, to me personally, is just I think the Lions are so much better than every other team in the NFC that it's hard for me to call any team in that division a true contender, just because I think the Lions are – I think the Chiefs, Bills, and Lions are kind of in a separate tier. They exist in a separate plane from the other teams, I think. And so I think in theory, the Eagles should be contenders if they win this game. But the fact that the Lions are doing what they're doing makes it a little difficult for me, because I just think the Lions are so many notches better than everyone else in the NFC. I don't think it's really that close. So for that reason, I would say no, but with an asterisk. That would be my reasoning.
Okay. Finally, we get to a question here. We got Chargers Ravens on Monday night, which at the beginning of the season wasn't really supposed to be that kind of hype of a game. Now it is. Anders, can Herbert overtake Lamar in the MVP race with the Chargers win?
So I think so. Because they'll be in the similar state of record, and he'll have the head-to-head. And I think Herbert, the numbers to me are impressive it'nough to where he, because he, 13 touchdowns, 1 pick. It would depend a little bit. To me, he would need to get to like 3,800 yards in these last. How many games do the Chargers have left? In these last 7 games, he would need to, at least flirt with 4,000 yards, which I think he'll have a really big passing game against this Ravens pass defense. So if Herbert has a big game and they win, then I think, like if they finish with similar records and Herbert has the head-to-head and plays well, like 250 passing yards and 2 touchdown passes, which I think is totally within range on the table for this game, I would say yes, for sure. Yeah.
I agree. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say absolutely not. I'm going to say definitely not. I love Herbert. I think Herbert's having an incredible year this year. I don't think he passes Lamar in the MVP race. In fact, I don't think he probably moves in the top 3 in the MVP race. To me, I think the MVP are pretty set, in my opinion, in terms of I think the top 3 are obviously Josh Allen, Lamar, and Jared Goff are my top 3 probably in MVP voting. And I don't think that really is going to change for me. If Lamar has a really bad game, though, then maybe.
Right.
I don't see Lamar having a truly disastrous game that drops him so far that Herbert, who currently in the MVP odds is plus 2,500,
right,
passes Lamar, who is right now is plus 200. Right. I just don't see the odds shifting that much.
Right. No, this question is not really like a commentary of the entire ecosystem of the race, because I think it should right now. My top 3 is Allen, Goff, Lamar, but I think again, there are parts of this that because Herbert can't control how Lamar plays. I think if Herbert can flirt with, I'll change it a little bit in terms of the questioning. I think if Herbert flirts with 4,000 passing yards this year, then I think he can finish the year higher than Lamar. I think that's on the table personally. The reason we're doing it all with Allen and Mahomes because Mahomes beat Allen, right? So I think, with these 2 teams, the Ravens and the Chargers, who are going to finish the year probably with similar records, I think that kind of similar logic needs to apply. As long, again, pending that Herbert's stats are in the vicinity of what we would want for someone who wins the award.
I agree. Moving on, Anders.
Yep.
Who is the current NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year? I added this late because I wanted to, because I thought about this. I wanted to ask, who is your current pick for NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year? I feel like there's going to be a certain answer people are going to give. I'm going to go opposite that answer, but go ahead.
So I need the slump that Daniels is going in needs to be longer for me to take the award away from him. I think if the Cardinals win the West, then Harrison Jr. becomes he is a legitimate option now. I think the more and more games that they win, the more and more legitimate that he comes.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's totally on the. I would still pick Daniels right now. I think it's totally on the table that Marvin Harrison finishes second.
That's not where I was going at all.
Mm-hmm.
At all. Brock Bowers is my current Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Sure. Yeah.
What he has done this year has been absolutely historic on a level, not just for tight ends, but he has a chance of catching Puka's record as a tight end.
Right.
He has a legit chance of catching Puka's record as a tight end. And I think it needs to be talked about more. I think he's not getting the love he deserves right now in terms of Offensive Rookie of the Year love, probably because of the position.
Right.
But I think he deserves it. I think he is the current OROI to me. If Daniels continues to slump, I'd say he jumps up me a little further.
Yep.
But right now, Brock Bowers is my Offensive Rookie of the Year. And right. I don't think it's really – I think he should get it.
No, I mean, he's going to finish the year with 100 receptions. And yeah, the Raiders record, he would have to find a way to overcome that. But, and again, it's not that he's doing it with what he's doing. It's that he's doing it with the coaching and the quarterback play that he's attached to, which is an obstacle that Puka didn't really have to overcome last year. But I mean, yeah, no, that's a fair point. If I had to bank on a pass catcher, I would probably still go with Harrison because of the record. And also right now, like I think Marvin has like 7 touchdowns and I think Brock has like 3. So he's going to beat him out at that too. I think Harrison will finish the year with double-digit touchdowns. But no, the receptions definitely, and the yards. I mean, what is Puka's record? It's like 1,316.
Yeah, no, it's like I think it's 13-16. I think is what he had.
I know, but he's no. So it's on the table for him for sure. Because right now, Marvin.
He had Puka had 1486 actually.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be difficult. I mean,
he's at 706, so you need to like double his total in the final year, which isn't impossible. It's probably not gonna happen, but
right.
It's still insane that we're talking. It's still insane that he's gonna probably get 1,200, 1,300 yards as a tight end.
Right.
And so for me, I just look at it like I think he deserves a lot more love than he's getting.
Right.
In that sense. But yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anders, we'll go to week 12 predictions here to finish off finish off our show.
Great.
Let me pull up the schedule just so I have it on me. Anders, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. I have it in front of me too.
Okay, perfect. So we will start here, Anders. Titans at Texans.
Texans.
Yep. Vikings at Bears. Vikings for me. Cowboys at Commanders. Give me the Commanders there.
Yep, Commanders.
Patriots at Dolphins. I love Drake May. I'm going to take the Dolphins here. I think they're going to win it here.
Yep.
Chiefs at Panthers. Chiefs.
I want the Panthers.
I want it.
I really do.
Buccaneers at Giants. I think the Bucs get back on track here.
I agree. Yep.
Lions at Colts. This could be a trap game for the Lions, to be honest with you. I think this could be a trap game. I'll take the Lions, but I do think trap game is a possibility. Broncos at Raiders.
Broncos.
I'll take the Broncos.
Yeah.
Cardinals at Seahawks. I'll take the Cardinals.
Yep.
Niners at Packers. Give me the Packers.
Packers.
Oh no, this is not good. We are going even here.
Yeah.
Eagles at Rams.
I'm gonna take the Rams.
I'm gonna take the Eagles.
Okay. I think the coaching mismatch will come to play.
And then Ravens at Chargers.
Chargers.
I'll take the Ravens to go opposite there on that one. I'll take the Ravens. Although I do think the Chargers have a chance. And then that's the week. That's the week for us there. One final question I have for Anders here, which is not on our topic here, but
yeah.
Your thoughts on a possible, I don't know if this would happen, I doubt it would happen, but there has been talks that the Timberwolves are very open to trading Dante DiVincenzo.
I saw that. Yeah.
Your thoughts on possibly Dante DiVincenzo going back to the Knicks?
I saw a lot of Instagram stuff on that. I saw like Sims and a second for him. I saw everywhere. I think that too much infrastructure has been put in place with like Kolek and Dadier for that to really be like legitimized. And I don't, and like if we have to give up Sims for it, like because we don't, like the center depth is really uncomfortable right now. Like I wouldn't want, outside of Cat, Hakpuri, I don't think is at the point where he can get substantive backup minutes just yet. And I think just Sims needs time too. And they would obviously want Sims over Hakpuri for sure. And I'm not really in the mood for the Knicks to give up more assets than they already have. So it's I think it would be a little bit more for the nostalgia of it than the actual optics of the roster. And I think that Kolek has shown that he is someone that has some similar skill sets, and I don't want to take away minutes from him. I don't want to take minutes away from Dottier because, if you have these raw kind of long-standing project guys, the way that they get better is with minutes. So with the kind of state the Knicks are in, I feel fine giving him those minutes. So, because he has gotten a little bit better and his role has increased. And so I think shoving DiVincenzo back into the lineup when he's didn't really seem to be too happy with everything. To me, I think that's it would be cool for about an hour. And then I think I would probably die off of it.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I would say, I'm okay with it. I'm really happy to have Dante in Minnesota, but he's been struggling this year. And I think if he wants to be traded, I think the Knicks are a great landing spot for him. I think, he has his friends there. He has that life there. I know Knicks fans love him. And so I think that would be a good fit for him. But obviously, I think there's a lot of teams that want him. I think going back to Milwaukee would make some sense. I think that
actually makes so I was about to ask you other landing spots for him. Milwaukee, I think, makes a boatload of sense in terms of just they have depth issues in general across everything, but especially when it comes to shooting. And so that. Yes. So I 100% agree that that's a really kind of fascinating spot. Kind of taking where the teams stand out of it a little bit, because I know that for the East and the West, it's a little skewed when you switch between them. The Spurs need more shooting. That would be an interesting destination, I think. I think if the Hawks sort of continue to mold things together, that would be another interesting spot and just kind of get more shooting. I think that I'm receptive to the idea of the Warriors doing it too, just to because that's a spot he's been before, so he's familiar with the staff, he's familiar with the scheme. Those are some other places. Yeah, like Spurs, Hawks would be kind of sleeper ones, and then Warriors would be kind of the next tier. But I think your idea of a return to the Bucks is perfect, 100%. So that's ideal, I think.
We'll see how it goes. But that's kind of my opinion. Although I would love to see him back with the Knicks. I'd love to see the Nova Knicks actually get a chance to be the Nova Knicks again, with all of them. But I don't know how long. I doubt that's really that possible.
Right.
Plus, I don't really know if Dante left on the greatest note. With the Knicks coaching staff. So, we saw the Rick Brunson Dante fight that happened, in there. But anyway, with that being said, Anders, that is our show. Yep. Well, we want to thank you all again for listening. We're really happy to have you guys here listening to this. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We enjoy doing it. If you guys enjoyed it, please leave a comment, subscribe. We really appreciate all the support from you. And then if you enjoy our content, we post this show every week. We also post another podcast, Bleav in Twins, on the Bleav Network, where we talk just Twins baseball, but also baseball in general on that show. So you can go check that out on our YouTube, Bleav in Twins. Also just on the Bleav Network, Bleav.com network. Under Bleav in Twins, you can go find us there, but you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, and all those. So go check us out. We really appreciate the support. And please leave a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are on some of the stuff we talked about today.
Yep.
Arizona State BYU predictions. We'll be watching that hard tomorrow. But other than that, thank you so much on behalf of my amazing co-host Anders Pryor. This has been a great show. Thank you so much. And we are signing off.
Good to see you guys.
Peace out.
See ya.
See you next week.